all for joining. Today's workshop is on improving customer experience, and we're going to talk about what that means. I've titled it Customer Love Equals Business Growth. So hopefully something in there resonates with you all. Thank you, Josie, for sharing where you're from. I see we have somebody here from Cow Springs. Let me pull up the chat. That's the other thing I hate about Zoom. I feel like they always hide things from me when I'm looking for them. I am originally from Tuba City, and I grew up in Vanderwagen, now living in Denver, on my way back to New Mexico by this summer. I am the executive director at Change Labs, and my background is in design of physical products and services. And in my previous career, all I did was work for small businesses, primarily outside of the US, but small businesses that were trying to build and introduce new products and new services for their customers. And we always focused on like, well, if you're introducing something new, how do you ensure that the experience that your customer is going through when they're engaging with your business or they're engaging with your product, that it's a good one, so that they keep coming back to you when they need that product or service again. So what I'm hoping you all walk away with after our 60 to 90 minutes today is that you appreciate the fundamentals of customer experience, that you will understand what I'm meaning when I say customer experience, and appreciate what role that plays in retaining any customers that you have for your business. Similarly, I would love it if you all were able to identify what I'm calling customer touch points. And even better, if you were able to sort of map all the different touch points of your business and appreciate the impact that they have in defining your customer experience. And then the third thing that I would love for you all to walk away with today is some practical strategies that you can employ to improve your customer experience. And I'm going to ask you all to generate that as part of an activity that we're going to do towards the end. Oh, also, I should say that I don't mind at all if you want to ask questions in the middle of the presentation. I am totally fine with that. You do not need to wait until the end. We will have Q&A at the end, but if you have a burning question, unmute yourself, ask, or just populate the chat and I'll be sure to check it. So my first question is for you all, and you can answer in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, or you can be shy and stay silent. As a business owner, this is a fact, and I'm wondering if you all can tell me where this truth comes from. As a business owner, it costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than it is to retain an existing one. Why do you think this is? So again, if you have some ideas, please throw them into the chat or unmute yourself and share with our small group.
I think that it would cost us more because we would still have to do the marketing part. Also another platform. If I wasn't getting the customer on a certain platform, I would have to start another platform. Looking at my marketing, like if I'm not getting new customers, I would have to look at my marketing strategies to look back at who am I looking for, and what kind of people am I looking for. That would also cost more for me to find. And then what if I want people that I'm doing Arrowhead Foot tours. I want to do virtual tour guiding of the Navajo Nation online, all virtual tour. So I would have to really go into maybe even running a poll, doing a poll online, like what kind of people. So that would cost me more money to find the research and finding the platforms. And then another thing, some of the good platforms you have to pay for on iPad, the platforms on Google Pay, the good ones, you have to pay a membership for. So those kind of things would add up for me to find a new customer if I wanted to go out there.
Josie, you hit the nail Wait, you hit the nail right on the head. Hammer right on the head? I forget what that expression is, but you're absolutely correct. Marketing costs money. And even if you're just doing it on your own, posting things on social media, it's taking your time. And time that you're doing that is time that you're taking away from other business activities. When you have, when you do invest that time and money to bring a customer in, if you can keep them there, then that is less money that you have to spend on retention. And if you can create a good experience for that customer, then something even more magical happens. They'll they'll spread the word about your business through word of mouth strategies. They'll tell their parent, or they'll tell their best friend about your business, or they'll put something on Yelp or Travelocity about your business, and then that's free marketing for you. I'm just trying to hammer in the importance of what Josie said is that a good customer experience will save you time and money in terms of drawing in new customers to cover any customers that you lost through a bad customer experience. So I keep using this word customer experience, but we haven't defined it. I imagine that some of you have already picked up from subtext what we're talking about here, but in case not, I'm just going to spell out my definition. Customer experience is how people feel when they interact with your business. From the first time they hear about you to the moment they make a purchase, and even beyond that. It includes things like how easy it is for them to find the information that they need from your business, how they're treated by you, and whether their problems get solved quickly. When customers have a positive experience, like friendly service, clear communication, nice packaging, hassle-free processes, they're more likely to come back. People remember how a business makes them feel. And if that feeling is trust, appreciation, or ease, they'll stay loyal. But if their experience is frustrating or forgettable, they may not give you a second chance. Retention isn't just about having a great product. It's about consistently creating an experience that makes your customers want to come back to you. So I'm going to ask you guys to reflect on this a little bit because, well, I'm not going to explain myself, but think of a good experience you've had as a customer and what made that experience positive.
I think being a customer, and especially when I pay into something like if I'm going to do a tour with Black Streak Tour Guiding, I like to be seen. I like to be treated as an individual and not a number. I like to feel like I'm being catered to in a nice special manner, not just being part of the line. Those are the experience I really like. And I like the generosity of businesses, especially when you see them when they give back to the community. Those kind of businesses I really am intrigued to. And the kind of businesses that really do give give help to your community. And those are the things I like as a customer. And I would keep giving them their money because I know my money is going to something good, and that they're trying something like Change Labs, things like that. That's what I want to feel like a unique experience that I'm being heard.
I love that. Catherine or Joe, is there a time that where you've had a good experience with a business as a customer?
Yes, I'm a retired electrical engineering and hoping to do some little teaching electrical stuff on the reservation if available.
That's awesome. And I think very much needed. I love to meet an electrical engineer. Is there a time, and you can, if it's easier too, another way to think about it, is there a time you've had a bad experience with a business? Like the line at Walmart was just horrendously long, but there was nothing to be done. You had to stand in the line. Or a visit to the DMV, I often think of as a bad experience. Or standing in line to board a flight where you're treated like cattle is another bad experience.
No, I never got involved in anything like that. Just good stuff for the last 40 years.
Nice. Well, then I'll shuttle right along. This is a good fact to keep in mind. 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for a great customer experience. And the example most used is Apple. Apple products are significantly more expensive than competitors, but their customers are willing to pay for user-friendly design, intuitive software, the customer support they give at the Genius Bar, and the seamless ecosystem like the iPhone and your iPad and your Macs can all work together effortlessly. And the Apple Store, in case any of you have ever visited, I think there's one in Phoenix, Denver, LA. The Apple Store in particular sets all kinds of new standards for customer experience and engagement. For example, when you go to an Apple Store, you don't have to stand in line if you want to buy something. The vaulted ceilings and the windows just create a sense of awe. You almost feel like you're in a church. And every employee is highly trained on all details and aspects of the products on their shelves. But obviously, we can't all be Apple with its billions of dollars in assets. So I think it's an aspirational example. But let's look at an example of a native-owned small business. And I chose Bethany Yellowtail's company for this example because I personally am a repeat customer. I purchase items from many native designers, both in person and online, but her company always stands out for me. And here's some things that make me loyal. First and foremost, her website, I think, does a great job of expressing her brand. If any of you are familiar with her clothing, it's elegant, and her website kind of mirrors that. It has a simplicity to it, a timelessness. It's not a fussy website. It's very intuitive to use. And when you make a purchase on her site, I forget which platform she uses, Shopify maybe, but you get immediate confirmation of your purchase. You get a timeline for when your item will be delivered. So there's no guessing about whether or not the transaction actually happened, if your card was charged, or when something's going to arrive. You get a notification that a package is on its way. That always gives me something to look forward to. I'm one of those people that need something to look forward to. Her packaging is very thoughtful. There's not too much of it, first and foremost, which I like. But what she does provide is still elegant, like this garment sleeve here that has the embossed logo as an example. And she also often includes a small gift in all of her shipments. For example, I made a purchase last year and she threw in a postcard with the Res Girls Can Do Anything artwork that she had created on it. And it was a beautiful little postcard, a beautiful little message. And I hung it up on my wall in my office, and it probably unconsciously prompts me to keep buying from her. There are many talented native designers, but I always come back to Bethany Yellowtail because she's consistent in her quality, and I feel like she delivers on her brand promise. So let's talk about ways you could think about customer experience in your own business or your own organization. And if you're still working on your business, you hasn't actually started it yet, which, like Joe, it maybe sounds like you're in that boat. I think this is still helpful. Let's talk specifically about this idea of customer touch points. A touch point is any moment when a customer interacts with your business. That includes before, during, or even after they buy something from you. Think about when you go to a restaurant or you pick up a meal from somewhere, your experience sometimes starts before you even head out the door. Maybe you see an ad in the Navajo Times, or you read a review online, or you go on to social media or onto online to check out the menu. That's a touch point, and they haven't even bought anything from you yet. And then maybe you go somewhere, you step inside and you're greeted in a certain way. You assess how clean the place is or how easy or difficult it is to order. Those are all touch points as well. And then after you leave, if the entrepreneur sends a thank you message, or you get like an email discount for 25% off your next meal, or 50% off if you bring a friend, that's yet another touch point. Every interaction, whether it's big or small, shapes how customers feel about your business. And if those moments are smooth, they're positive, or they're memorable, people will come back. But if they're frustrating or they're inconsistent, they may not give you a second chance. So as you build your business, ask yourself, what are all the ways customers interact with me? And how can I make sure that each of those moments is a great experience? That's the key to building trust and loyalty. I like to think of it as a map. It helps me visualize, maps help me visualize and make sense of things. This is a map of all the customer touch points we could think of for our loan program that I shared at the beginning of this presentation. This is a lot for a single slide, and some of you may be looking at this on a small screen, so I am going to break it down. Okay, so for simplicity, this map that I'm sharing as an example only covers how Change Labs thinks our customers are becoming aware of our loan program and what that initial interaction with us looks and feels like. I didn't share the rest of the map because I just thought it might be too much. So I call these two stages of the customer experience, the awareness stage and the consideration and inquiry stage. To me, these are two of the most important stages because it's essentially how people develop their first impression of you. So let's focus on two ways we think that people become aware of our loan program. They either unintentionally come across the information about our program, like maybe we have an ad in the newspaper and they're just reading the newspaper and the ad like blasts out at them, or they're intentionally searching for information on loans. Maybe they go online and say small business loans, and then Change Labs pops up as one of the results. So based on that information, there are a number of potential touch points that we can create at Change Labs to support that first impression of our program. For example, as I mentioned, Navajo Times ad, or a website, or asking a council delegate to speak about our lending program, or sharing of Navajo entrepreneurs who have utilized our loan program on our social media. We don't actually do all of those things, of course, but we generated this list here so that we could begin to identify what was possible. And then from there, prioritize what is it that we actually have the capacity to do as an organization, and what is it that we can actually afford to do. Because Navajo Times ads are great, but they're definitely expensive. Same with KTNN ads. So similarly, we thought through the steps for what we expected our customers to do if they were considering applying for a loan with us, or they wanted to make contact with us to learn more about it before they committed to anything. So for example, they may, once they heard about the program, they may prefer to look us up on the web to see how like legit we are. Or maybe they don't like using the internet. Maybe they prefer to talk to somebody on a phone. Or they might prefer to book an appointment so they can think about it, tomorrow or 2 days in advance to talk to somebody. Or maybe they prefer to get their information from somebody they trust, like another business owner or a referral from their local RBDO. Each of those steps then has their own touch points. For example, when we were building this map, we didn't have a phone number at Change Labs. But we knew that we needed one, but we kept kind of deprioritizing it. But this helped us realize that some of our borrowers would likely prefer to call us instead of sending an email or sending a message on social media. So we realized that it was really important for us to create a phone line to serve that group of customer that preferred the phone. Similarly, we wanted to ensure that these potential customers that were actively looking at our programming got a sense of competence and also officialness from us. So we worked with a Navajo designer, Vanessa Bowen, to create and strengthen the branding for our loan program that we felt like made the program look strong and confident and official. We also thought of ways to make it easier for potential customers to talk with us when it's convenient for them, like hosting office hours or having open house events, or setting up at the flea market so that they could stop by and learn more while they're out shopping or getting a sandwich. We want to make it easy for potential customers to have that first engagement with us. So after you've identified your touch points, I want you to consider three things: ease, empathy, and engagement. So for easy, how simple or how hard is it for your customers to engage with your business? I think this is where we hear from a lot of non-native customers who want to buy from customers in the Change Labs network. They say, like, can you send me a website where I could buy this? And if that entrepreneur doesn't have a website, you can only buy it if you're at the Tuba City flea market on Fridays. That's frustrating for them because maybe they're in Albuquerque or maybe they're in New York and they can't just show up to the flea market on a Fridays. So that entrepreneur, unfortunately, is making it hard for a customer to engage with their business. On the empathy side, how well do you understand and address your customers' needs? On the engagement side, how personal and meaningful are your interactions? A good example I can think of that is, unfortunately, we do this at Change Labs. On Facebook messaging, they allow you to automate messages when somebody messages you. And you can totally tell when you're getting an automated message. And that is very impersonal. I'm sure our customers at Change Labs would love it more if it was a little bit more personal note, but just due to the volume, we have some stuff that's auto-generated. But are you trying to make personal connections with your customers? Or are you just using robots to do all of that? So I'd like to take 2 minutes here of our time together because we're doing pretty good on time. Just grab a pen and pencil or pull up a note somewhere and reflect on your own business. I'm going to challenge you all to think about 2 to 3 key touch points in your business. Maybe it's your website or a website that you're planning, or if you're setting up at the flea market, it might be your booth setup, or it might be email communications to your customers. Whatever it is, once you've identified 2 to 3, I want you to reflect on those 3 E's. And I'm not going to ask you to share your responses with the group right now, but we are going to come back to this in 10 minutes. So I'm gonna set the 2-minute timer here. All right, she's counting down. And this is your time. I should have turned on some music, but we'll just sit in silence while you think about 2 to 3 touch points and rate them on the 3 E's: ease, empathy, and engagement. And I'll move on once the countdown gets to 0. Okay, wrap up anything you're writing down. I'm sorry about that. That happened last time and I promised that I was going to remove the alarm, but I forgot. Okay, we're going to move along. We are going to come back to it though. Oh, please don't do that again. Okay, there. Whew, gosh, I thought I was going to go off again. So we're going to move on and we're going to talk about ways you could think about your customer experience in your own business or your organization. We're going to talk specifically about delighting your customers. Each of those customer touch points that you've identified for yourself is an opportunity to delight. So I'm going to go back to the Apple Store. Every single person on this call probably has some mental model of the experience of buying something from a store. We've all done it. You go into a store, you pick up your item, you head to the checkout, and you wait your turn to purchase the item. That's the experience we know and that we all expect. Stores don't try and change that fundamental experience, and they, in fact, use it to grab your attention while you're waiting in line. Like they put all the candy and the gum there, or the magazines in the hopes that you'll like pick it up and add it to your cart while you're standing there out of sheer boredom. But the Apple Store, I hate harping on it so much, but they're just unfortunately a good example. The Apple Store has rethought that experience entirely. What if there was no waiting in line? What if we eliminated that as a customer pain point? Just the act of doing so surprises and delights the customer because it's just so counter to the mental model that we've had in our head since we were all babies. Now, again, I know that we're not all Apple in this workshop and that reshaping infrastructure may not be in your immediate capacity. So let's take a look at an example again from a native small business. This is Cheekbone Beauty. founded by First Nations entrepreneur Jen Harper. She offers a line of beauty products, and while she promotes sustainability, environmental sustainability on her website, the first time I ordered from her store, I was surprised to learn that this beautiful packaging that my products arrived in were completely 100% compostable. And even more than that, she sent a little thank you card, and the card was made out of seed paper that you could take outside and plant in your garden. It was really unexpected, and it was definitely memorable for me. It's a detail that I now share with others, like I'm sharing with you. So there's still, even though we're all not the Apple stores of the world, there's still small things that we can think about and consider that will delight our customers. So let's look at a few of those strategies. I asked ChatGPT to help me come up with a few that could be easy for any of us to implement. Personal touches, like when you're selling something, you sell a service or you sell a product, a handwritten thank you note goes a long way. Or remembering that customer's preferences. You're selling t-shirts and they bought 2 purple ones. You might remember or note down like they like purple. Or you offer birthday or anniversary discounts. I love when I get birthday coupons in my inbox like a few weeks before my birthday. Or maybe you throw in a small unexpected extra, like a freebie, a sticker, or a sample of something, or a little upgrade. Your service is faster than the customer expected, or you do some sort of follow-up. Another way to delight is by going above and beyond. So fixing a problem proactively. Again, Apple Store, no lines. They fixed a problem that we didn't even realize was a problem. Actually, that's not true. We all realize lines are a problem. Friendly and engaging staff. I feel like, particularly on Navajo, sometimes we expect people in the customer service industry to be unfriendly. So it is always nice to have an experience where somebody is completely friendly. Helping without expecting anything in return is another way to delight. Showcasing appreciation for a customer. So if you spotlight them, maybe on your social media channels or in a newsletter, or you create some sort of VIP treatment for your most loyal customers. If you run an auto mechanic shop, for example, maybe your VIP customers go into the VIP lounge where all the coffee is free and the donuts are fresh. Or maybe you're involved in some sort of community event for or as a way to show your appreciation back to your community. Last one here is creating small moments of joy. Again, maybe unexpected discounts or gifts, or maybe you try and gamify the experience, like customers competing with other customers, or there's customer challenges, there's giveaways, or encouraging social sharing. And I have an example of that coming up, so I'll just move on to that. My colleague Holly reminded me of this. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Warby Parker. They're relatively new, probably within the last 5 years. They're an eyeglass company, and their brand promise is like trendy eyewear for $100 or less. I think that was their original brand promise, and now it might be like $150 or less. But it's supposed to be affordable, attractive eyewear. And they had in their early years, before they had physical infrastructure, everything was online, and this is part of what made them an affordable eye brand. So when you go to their website, you could do a virtual try on, and you could pick several different glasses that you wanted to try on, and then they would ship them in a box like this so that you could try all of the glasses on at home in front of your mirror and then select one. They'd give you all the postage so that you could send this right back. And you could say like, I really liked pair number 2 here of the 5. And then you would send them your prescription, and then they would send you back your glasses. It was actually really, really fun. I did that maybe twice when they first got started. And they created a hashtag around this called hashtag Warby Home Try On, because of course, people in the social media obsession wanted to show everybody what they looked like with all the different glasses on. They had about 24,000 organic posts of people using that hashtag Warby Home Try On. And to me, this was pretty genius way of engaging with and surprising customers. Well, first and foremost, they completely defy our mental model of what it is to buy glasses. I think we're all accustomed to either buying our eyewear from the vision center at Walmart or from our local optometrist. This idea of just like going online to a website, doing a virtual try on, selecting your glasses, and having them shipped to your home was a completely new way of doing business. So that in itself was a delight. But then being able to share your get your friend's opinion, get the internet's opinion on which glasses look best on you was really clever. And they have the post to show it. And I think what's also clever about it is not only did they build a community by doing this and promote user-generated content, which was basically free marketing for them, but they also at the same time, they got really great insight into who their customer was because they were a new business. But you can just see from the social media posts that it's mostly young women, likely in their 20s or early 30s, who are buying Warby Parker glasses and doing this try on challenge. And I think that probably helped them get even more focused about who it was that they were targeting, who it was they were trying to reach, and who was their actual customer base. Okay, I'm going to ask you all to do something for me again. Oh no, Josie has horses on her road. She had to leave. I love that's a great, I'm going to remember that one. This is what happens to people in Change Labs workshops. Horses are on the road and they have to go. Okay, choose one touch point in your business and brainstorm a small improvement you could make to introduce delight or make a pain point a little bit more seamless. Since we're now just down to 2 people, I'm not going to ask you guys to share with the group. Joseph also already shared that his business, he's still thinking about it. So maybe he doesn't even have his touch points yet. So I'm going to take the pressure off and I'm going to say, we don't have to share with the group unless Catherine and Joseph, were either of you able to think of what some of those touch points might be? Because we have some great change labbers here. We'd be happy to give you some feedback on your touch points. Oh, Catherine, I think you're talking, but it's on mute. Oh, there we go.
Okay, yeah, I did some sewing. I'm from Kayenta. In the past 20 years, for about 15 years, I did a lot of sewing. But it wasn't a business, it was just a hobby that I had started. But then I kind of got into a slow mood the last 5 years. And I know that people around graduation time or whatever celebrations they want for their little ones. I did clothing and different kinds of stuff, like even for wedding, modern and traditional. I did it for it was tiring, but it was really interesting for me. But I was just thinking, Jay, am I going to start all over again? Because I'm pretty well getting up in the age level. But I know there's some people that are starting to ask. They want me to do some more sewing for them. So I'm not sure what to do.
Well, I'm going to pick on you a little bit if that's okay. Just tell me if you don't want me to, but how do it sounds like you have some people who were your previous customers. How do you spread the word about your sewing services?
Let's see. I just they they run into me at the store or post office, or they go through my son or my husband. They say, is she still doing some sewing? They say that to me, but I don't put it on flyers or radio or anything. But I at that point when I did this 25 years ago, they had it on the, what do you call it, I think it was on a newspaper. They had me on there too, so that was the only way that it was passed around. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And are you thinking that if you were to rekindle this sewing service that you used to offer, would you want to be looking for more customers, or do you feel you get enough requests that you'd probably have more than enough customers that you would need?
I would think that way, yeah, because I was pretty fast about doing things back in the years, but now I'll do it whenever I feel like I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to think of what some other touch points would be given that model specifically. There could be a lot of things actually, because when the sewing services, is it repair services? Are you like creating brand new garments for people?
That could be another thing that you would think of because now things are changing.
Mhm.
And recently I was asked to do some presentation on sewing at the school. I ended up 2 days wasn't enough, but I know the kids were really interested. How young they were, all the way up to maybe middle school. But there, I noticed there was a lot of materials in that the craft place, and I needed to see that they need to have that program continuously projected into the program because there's a lot of stuff that is not unused. I didn't know how to approach the school about it. So I mean that's different from Change Lab, but I don't know how to consider it as something that I should bring my concern about that too, because that school has a lot of good stuff that we still need to teach the kids. So
Yeah, that's a very practical skill too that people could use to turn into a business. I'm
yes,
wondering, is that what if in an ideal world, would it be the case that you were putting on these sewing classes for local schools, not just the one closest to you, but maybe all the schools in Western Agency or something like that?
yes, that's another good thought. Yeah, because where would it go? Because a lot of those materials are really nice. Some of them are all printed by traditional type of designs, and those are expensive.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Well, that's interesting. Like you said, I had in my mind what it is that you're doing, but what you're describing is very unique and very different. And in this case, your touch points would be, or your customer is actually schools, and it's not, somebody who needs their jeans sewn or somebody who needs a dress for graduation. I'm just going to run with it. I understand that may not exactly be what you're doing, but I think it's a really good example of the touch point might be that you have a flyer that you create and it's specifically for Navajo high schools or something like that. And the flyer says like the importance of teaching Navajo students practical skills like sewing and what students can do with skills like this and how it might enhance their education or enhance their livelihoods after graduation. Like talk through the benefits to the schools and to the students for having this class and having a framework of what that class would look like. Like here's a 1-day class option, here's a 3-day class option, here's a whole semester's worth of content, and here's my credentials to teach this class. Anyhow, I don't mean to belabor it too much, but I think it's a really great example, and I can start to see all the different touch points that you might think about if you were trying to engage Navajo public schools to encourage them to offer classes on sewing.
Exactly. See, my son was with the governing, and then I saw this solution when I was invited to do the presentation, and I saw all sorts of ideas I could have ran through him, but he stepped down, so I didn't know where else to run with this whole idea because just besides sewing, I don't do that too, but I mean, I also include like mending. I've been involved with my husband up at the mine. The guys needed these, what do you call these overalls that were too big or too small for the guys. And I used to do whatever I could to do seamstressing in all kinds of situation I ran into.
I love that. That's a very unique and unexpected business idea. So Catherine and Joseph, we're wrapping up here, but it sounds like both of you are on the verge of rebooting businesses or starting new businesses. if either of you want to chat with a Change Labs coach about any challenge that you're having, like Catherine, if you want to brainstorm with one of us on this idea that you have and talk through, like, how do you build that flyer, or what tax liability would I be responsible for if I did this business? Ah, thank you, Holly. There's a link in the chat window now where you can book a coaching session with any of us, or again, you're welcome to pop into our eShip hub in Tuba City. My colleagues Raquel and Sophia are there Monday through Friday, and they love to support entrepreneurs with questions like that. We invite you to engage with us. So to recap today's workshop, here's the key points I hope you're feeling too. Is great customer experience drives retention by building trust and creating ease and joy in your customers, and focusing on improving even just very small touch points like the flyer that we just talked about with Catherine. That can lead to some big results. And I encourage you all to make today actionable. Write down one specific thing that you're going to do to improve the customer experience in your business, or one thing that you can do to ensure that the customer experience is a positive one once you start your business. And I'm going to leave it at that. Are there any final questions that you all have before we say goodbye?
This was a good session. I enjoyed it, and I learned some stuff that I thought I knew, but I didn't know most of it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. And also, oh, go ahead.
And for me, I am not, I don't know how to say this, but I'm not quite ready right now this month, but I would like to continue with asking more questions to Christine
Yes.
Laughter, because she's
Yeah.
more or less from Cayenta area, and we're right in that town.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm really surprised to hear about all this, and I wasn't too sure whether to go ahead and start over again, but it sounds really interesting while we still can operate with our
Yeah,
skills.
I think the model you're talking about is super interesting, and I think you would probably get some bites from schools.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and thanks, Holly, just for your information. She's put the title, date, and time for our next workshop. It's this coming Monday. It's financial skills for sole proprietors. You're a sole proprietor if you're basically just doing this business as a hobby or as a side hustle, or you're the sole owner of the business. You're automatically a sole proprietor. Feel free to join us. It's run by our friend and ally, Delphina Begay from Water Edge Business Solutions. She's a fantastic Navajo accountant.
And that'll be actually offered in person. So not just like through this virtual session, but she'll actually be at the eShip Hub, which I put a link of directions of how to get there through Google Maps. So we're right off of Main Street, right behind the chapter in Tuba City. But yeah, so she'll be there. So if you have any questions, or even to just how to get started and start tracking your finances by yourself, I think it's a great kind of workshop to go check out. Awesome.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Joseph. It was great to meet you both. Hope to see you at another Change Labs event.